it's Emily Honey or M Honey Reads, and today I was going to talk with you guys about 2022 and 2023, my most favorite reads that kind of I went in not knowing what to expect and they blew me away sort of reads, and then my least favorites or the most disappointing reads, I guess, the ones that I kind of had higher hopes for and they weren't exactly as good as I had thought they would be. So starting off with 2022, my favorites, ones that I went in and just kind of got blindsided by how actually amazing they were. Starting off with The Deal by Elle Kennedy. It's a hockey romance, which is like kind of the bigger thing these days. I know that there's there's a bunch of birds flying around. Just making sure they're not like hawks going after my chickens. So The Deal, I went into it never reading a hockey romance before, and that changed my mind on them. I know that Icebreaker is like really big right now. It's on my TBR. I have it in one of my previous videos talking about my TBR, and I just didn't get into it right away, and so sometimes I'm just not in the mood for it. But so I read The Deal, then I quickly went and got like The Mistake, and I can't remember the one after that. But yeah, so I read those quick, and now, like I said, the rest of them are on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm super excited to read the rest of them soon. But The Deal kind of came in and blew me away, and so it was definitely one of my top reads. The male main character set a high bar for male main characters for me. And then if you like dark romance, my next book, you really have to read The Trigger Warnings. I have the physical copy of this one, Haunting Adeline. Okay, so it's thick, it's heavy, it's beautiful. It's just, this book like came in and it was wow. Again, trigger warnings. Read them, please. This one has a lot of them. It is harsh. It is intense. It is a lot. It's a cat and mouse kind of thing, literally. Like, it's nicknames for each other. You get 2 points of view, and it is dark. It is twisted. It is heavy, but I loved it. So it definitely, I went in and I was like, no idea what it was. I didn't even look at what it was. I was just like, oh, this cover looks really pretty. And then I read the trigger warnings and I was like, okay, what am I doing to myself? I'm so glad I went through with it though. It is really good. She's got an important note / trigger warnings on this page here. Definitely check them out first. So that was a top book, and then it was so good that I plowed through the next one. Also thick. This one is a lot heavier. If you had a hard time with the first one, be super careful going into this one. It is like 10 times worse. I'm not even kidding. I still really liked it. I still really enjoyed it. There were some parts that made me physically nauseous. I will admit that, but I really do like H.D. Carlton as an author. I read like Does It Hurt, and a couple other books of hers. There is Satan's Affair, which I heard you could read before this one because you meet the main character of Satan's Affair in this book, but it's not like a requirement to read it. I might read it later actually, but so those two were books that I had no expectations, and I came in. I read Haunting at the very end of 2022 and Hunting at the beginning of 2023. So they're favorites for last year and this year. It's kind of a little combination. Another one from last year is, I don't have it, but I'm Glad My Mom Died. And that was I don't read a lot of memoirs and stuff like that, but that was one of the first ones. And I did the audiobook, which was read by the author, Jeanette McCurdy. And it was, wow, it was heavy, a little harsh, a little sad, a lot sad, but it was a really, really good book. It gave me a huge look into Nickelodeon shows, especially some done by certain directors. And it was just like, I watched, iCarly a little bit growing up, and by the time like Sam and Cat came around, I wasn't watching it. I didn't watch Victorious, but my daughter is now. She's 8 and she loves Victorious, and she was watching Sam and Cat, and I'm just watching these things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. So if you haven't checked out that one and you like memoirs, or you watched even the Nickelodeon shows, you should. I think it's 100% worth your time. So that was one of those books. I actually did go into it like with some high expectations, and it was still so good and such like a good read that it blew my expectations away. You've heard me talk about this book multiple times, 2022. It's my favorite book from 2022. Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Go read it. It's great. The mystery, everything about it. It was just like, I loved the feel of it. I loved, just the whole setting and the dark and I don't know. It was just, it got me. And then like the ending was just, because sometimes you get endings and you're like, ew. This one was just like really good. It was so good. The ending got me. It was phenomenal. I had no idea where it was going to go. I was like, how on earth is she going to wrap this up? And then she did, and it was gorgeous. Another book that I had not very many expectations for, but I was like, oh, people are talking about it all the time. Local Woman Missing. Phenomenal. It was so good. I plowed through this in like 2 days. I needed to know what happened. It was pretty darn good. It was unexpected. I did not guess what was going to happen. Again, that's like a theme here. If I don't guess what's going to happen, it automatically bumps it up for me. So this next book was one that I was super excited to read. Everybody had talked about it. Everybody talks about this author, and it's a thriller mystery sort of book. So I had like these huge expectations going in. The Silent Patient, I was really disappointed, honestly. It was okay. I didn't fully guess the ending, so that kind of bumped it up for me. I think I gave it like 4 stars. It was okay. For me. Doesn't mean that you won't love it. Doesn't mean that you won't really enjoy it. And just because I loved these books over here that are off the screen doesn't mean that you guys are going to love them. That's the whole point of reading. You find what you love, you run with it. So this one just kind of was a big old disappointment for me. I didn't like the setup. It felt almost kind of forced to make the ending look more realistic to me. Again, that's just me. So whatever. If you loved it, good for you. I'm glad. I'm so happy that you loved it, and that's wonderful. But it was an okay read for me. So this year, like I said, we had Hunting Adeline, and that was my first book of the year, because I had just plowed through Haunting right before. And then another set of books is, you heard me talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. It's Lucy Score, Knock 'Em Out series. I was so happy that I read that first one, because I had seen The Things We Never Got Over, and I had seen the cover, and I was like, this is going to be a super depressing book. This is going to be sad. It's going to suck. Why would I read it? And then that's why you need to look at books before you just judge it. So I got a book from my husband. I got Forever Never by Lucy Score. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. I'm like, it's huge. It'll take me forever. I plowed through it so fast. I loved it. And then I was like, well, these are all on Kindle Unlimited. Like, I've got a whole slew of things I can go through. So that's when I read The Things We Never Got Over, and I was like, whoa, this is good. So that whole entire series is just like one that blew me out of the water, one that I went in expecting it to be not that great, and it was phenomenal. Another one that I was like, maybe it's so hyped up because everybody's talking about it, and it's one I've talked about before and I love, and it's Lessons in Chemistry. And I was like, everybody's saying how great it is. It's probably not that great. It's that great. It was really, really good. I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the feel of it. There are some sensitive spots in here you might want to just check out, before you go for it. But it was good. It was a good book. It was one of those that by the end I was crying, which isn't abnormal, I guess, for me, but still. And then, pardon my language, but literally the title for this next one that I'm talking about, or next ones, it depends on what you're doing, is the Mindfuck series, which was phenomenal. It's either you can get it in mini books, or there's just like all of them put together in just this large book. You guys have probably seen it. It's got the apple on the cover with all the nails in it. I was like, well, let's see here, because the covers on the individual books are almost misleading. It is way more intense and crime focused, and just I went in and I was like, we'll see, and then I started reading it and I'm like, whoa, this is good. I couldn't put them down. I went through book after book after book. They were on Kindle Unlimited at the time, so I just they might still be. I haven't looked, obviously, since I read them, but they are phenomenal if you like the dark romance. Again, check trigger warnings always, always, always before you go into a book, especially dark romance. Check the trigger warnings. But I adored it. It was it way exceeded any expectations that I had going for it. And then I'll end on the disappointed note of the book this year that I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be better. And it was The Perfect Marriage. Again, I gave this one 4 stars because it did surprise me at the end, but leading up to the end was just like dragging. It felt like, it took forever for me. It says completely gripping psychological suspense. Maybe to some, of course, there's going to be plenty of people out there that were like, oh my gosh, and good for you, but it just wasn't it for me. Which didn't stop me from reading her next novel. It's Geneva Rose, and oh god, You Shouldn't Have Come Here. That's what it's called. And that was pretty good too. I think I gave that one 4 stars too. And again, her endings, which is just like weird how that works because it's usually the opposite. Her endings are really good. It's just like the whole middle of the book that feels almost kind of dragged out to me. Again, it's not going to be like that for everybody, and that's okay. But it just, it was just kind of not it for me. So those were 2022 and 2023 favorites, most exceeding my expectations and most disappointed in. I also wanted to talk a little bit about audiobooks, just kind of get the feel, because I feel like it is such a hot topic. And I wanted to throw out just how much I appreciate them, how much they mean to me. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are afraid to start audiobooks, think that they won't get into it, think that they aren't going to be able to keep their attention. And I think that if you haven't at least tried it, you're really, really missing out. I've had Audible before, and what's nice about Audible is after you purchase your books, you get to keep them even after you discontinue your membership with them. So, like, I don't have an Audible membership right now. I usually get rid of it during the school year because I'm so busy with the kids. I've got so much going on, so much to do. But I do that because I'm a rereader and I love to reread books. It just feels like, you know, that little hug, like you're coming home and you're getting that warm, just lovey-dovey feeling. And so I have all of my books saved up. I've got like 20, 30 books just saved up, and I just listen or reread all of them all the time. Most of them are Jodi Picoult books. Like Keeping Faith is one that is just a comfort book for me, and I will re-listen to it. I tend to re-listen to it every year when my daughter goes back to school, because it's a time of like high anxiety for me and just feeling kind of sad and down because I'm gonna miss her. So it's, you know, one of those books that comes in and I can rely on that. It's, I don't know, like my routine of just listening to it. I've done it since she went to kindergarten. And then now, like I said on my last video, I'm listening to the Spotify books, which is wonderful. I love that they added that feature for premium members, even if it is just 15 hours. I might have to see how much it costs extra for more hours. We'll see, because I already plowed through my 15. And now I'm like, thankfully I've got podcasts to listen to. Shout out to Last Podcast on the Left and all of you guys for making me laugh daily at true crime stuff. But audiobooks are so important to some people, myself included. So it is reading, 100%. I don't understand why people would ever argue this. I just don't get why people are so set on, you know, they see one definition of reading as using your eyes to see the written word. But there's so many different definitions out there, even in dictionaries and on Google for reading, you know, and it's just, reading should be something that everybody can participate in, you know, and for some people that is only audiobooks and it's still reading. So I've had this, you know, big old tiff about it on Twitter before, and I'm such a stan for audiobooks, and I just needed to come on here and just talk about it because I don't have anywhere else really to talk about it besides Twitter. So it's nice to be able to come on, you know, YouTube and voice my opinions and talk about books and talk about audiobooks. So thank you guys. I mean, I tell you guys every time, but I really, really mean it. And I hope that you understand how much it means to me to be able to come on here and just be myself and talk about books and things that I've loved about them and things that I find disappointing, and just know that there's no judgment on here. I'm happy that you're reading. I'm happy that you're doing whatever you want to do and love what you do. And that's what means the most to me. So thank you guys for coming on here. I appreciate you all so much. Bye.